Welcome, property investors. This is the Building in Perth podcast with your two hosts, Chris Holland and Tony Hyde. If you're a property investor or you're curious about investing in property in Western Australia, this is the podcast for you. The reason for that is we're not going to hold back. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We're certainly not going to bullshit you, and we're going to exploit everything that you need to know. Every month we're going to have special guests on, industry professionals, and then we're going to release an episode every single Monday. So you're not going to miss anything. So please stay tuned, like and subscribe so you never miss anything, and enjoy.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Building in Perth podcast, episode number 3 with your host Tony Hyde and
Chris Holland.
Today we're going to be tackling all things about land. Where you should buy it, why you should buy it, all the stuff that goes behind it. And this is going to blow your mind because the amount of stuff that you don't realise we got to do or the builders got to do, and they get it done. It's fucking crazy, right? So, number 1 off the rank, the first thing when you're getting land is location, location, location.
We could honestly spend 2 hours talking about land. I'm not joking. There's so much packed into this. I'm going to try and keep this down at 45 minutes because we're going to go and pick the kids up. But there's so much information, man. But you're right. The first thing that you got to consider is location. Where the fuck do you want to live? A good thing that I say, when clients come in and they're like, oh, even when they're being extreme and they want to go to Yanchep or something like that, but they currently live in Piara Waters. I was like, oh, fuck. Go and rent there for 6 months. Go and fucking, you know what I mean? Go and see the place. Don't just fucking dive in because some gimp in a suit at the fucking display village just said it's an up and coming area. Like, go and actually live there because you want to be comfortable in the shops. You want to fast food, takeaway, blah blah blah. If you're into the beach, if you're not into the beach, I think it's important to try and live somewhere before you actually build fucking there. Especially if it's an owner occupier, different investor, totally different. But yeah, obviously location is huge. Biggest thing in WA. Oh, it's really weird, but north or south of the river.
Yeah, just divide.
It's like a cult, isn't it? It's like weird. Obviously south side.
I'm not moving south. How?
I know,
but
I don't understand.
Two things as well. If you're buying to live in it, then do your location. If you're an investor, then you got to look at your
return on investment,
rent yields and stuff like that.
Rent return. That's really, if you are an investor looking at this or listening to this, hopefully you're looking because we've dressed up.
Yeah.
I think you've really actually got to speak to an industry expert. Don't just fucking take a stab in the dark. Most investors wouldn't, but speak to a builder broker, man, 100%. And don't sign anything until you get some factual evidence, you know what I mean? Current rent return, future predicted, how much it's going to cost, all of that sort of jazz. So I love that stuff, man.
Yeah, and your broker your builder broker should know that stuff. Like what's projected in Yanchep, what's projected down in Byford. Do you know about all the other stuff that's happening down there? We do, all right? We're not going to tell you there because you need to come and speak to us, so we give you that information. But there's loads happening around Perth. That's why we're banging on about a great time of getting investment in here. So, first thing off the rank, you found a block of land, or it's in the area you want, but you don't know anything about it. What's the next thing you do? So, this bit of land looks great. It's in the right location, but it's on a...
First thing I think is, are you going to live in it, or is it an investment? Okay? And then off the back of that, depending if you answer A or B, how much do you want to spend? How much is this going to cost you? How much can you borrow? Say you've got all that ticked off, $600,000 I want to spend, cool. You got to reverse engineer. So the block of land determines the cost of the house, but we can give you guesstimates on what the house will be. So for instance, you find a nice big block of land, which is now a 450. That is a big block these days, you know what I mean? It used to be 600 and 800 and 900. Realistically, a 450 is a big block now. A house will be a minimum of 260 grand to fit on that. And then you can tell us you want a 4x2, you want a pool, you want a swim, double story, single story, whatever it is. Then we can guesstimate roughly what the house cost will be. But that the land is actually what determines majority of that house cost. So site work's the first one,
and that's the big thing, right?
I think this is like an unwritten rule that builders shaft clients. I really do. I know that's controversial and people are not going to, or builders aren't going to like me saying that. These site works cost that builders throw out there is unbelievable, man. It's the biggest fucking bullshit in building, unfortunately. They advertise this beautiful big house for 200 fucking cents, you know what I mean? And it's like, you get all this included, but the site works is $38,000. How is it $38,000? Show me why it's $38,000? All because of the, the soil classification, or we need to increase the footing size, or this. Fuck off, you know what I mean? Like, it's really not that much. Concrete's not included in site works. It's all the other stuff: excavating, digging out, trenching, site toilets, blah 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 blah. I think site works is the biggest fucking question mark in building. I really do. I don't want to go into more than that, but
right. So we think it's a bit of a rot, right? But site works, they can be from 14 grand to
10 grand
to 150 grand, depending on what you need to do, and that depends on when you saw. This is what we're saying. You saw your bit of land. It's great, but it's sitting on a 20 degree, 30 degree hill,
you
right?
Ski off it. Yeah.
You ski off it. What happens then? Because you can't just dig into it, or you're gonna have to pay retaining wall. So you're the builder, Chris. Tell us about the.
Well, first things first. Like I'm building a house in Hammy Hill at the moment, and the site works for $6 grand or 6.2 or something like that. It, you know, like builders have got like an unwritten fucking code that it starts with like 11,000. You know what I mean? It's crazy. BGC used to fix them at 10.2 or 10.5 or something like that. So if you're looking at building, fucking do your homework on the builder and ask questions about the site works. Get the guy to justify why it's costing $16,000. Ask for a breakdown, you know what I mean? Because when you actually read it, a lot of it's fucking wank, you know what I mean? So, and people just sign it anyway. The thing is, the site works is a provisional sum. That's the part where they increase your prices and fuck you until your contract's then done, which takes about 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the builder. Then they'll fix the site works. But when you've signed the PPA or the preliminary contract, that it's 16k, but when it comes to contract, it's actually 26k. Ask for a breakdown, you know what I mean?
And that's they get that numbers from running engineering reports, which we'll unpack a bit later, but they never reduce it.
Fuck off.
You never go, oh, it's come back down. They fix it. And
they'll go, oh, good news, your site works are now fixed at 16.5 grand. I'm sitting there looking, going, it's fucking 8 grand, mate. You know what I mean? There's another 12 grand getting charged for the client for no reason. But yeah, obviously, so a nice flat block of land is good. But you actually get steals. We've got a client up in Two Rocks. It's got this horrendous looking block, but the way we're going to construct it, design it on stilt frame construction, so not your typical B1 homes or whatever. Like, you need to go to a custom builder. You get ocean views. You're right on the ocean. And it's a bit funky, you know what I mean? It's on stilts and stuff like that. There's a lot of piling and bit of retaining and stuff, but there's bargains to be had if you do find these odd blocks. But the site works cost will be increased naturally. Yeah, so
you've got to do your homework on it, right? And if you're not sure, we as a rule of thumb, we'll go out to any real obscure blocks with a client and walk through it with them. I mean, that one we done up in Bullsbrook, way past there, it was like an hour's drive.
That was like that, if anyone's watching.
Yeah, it was a great block, you know.
Unbelievable block.
And it's
paddy.
Yeah, the views are going to be unreal when we finish it. But again, then just get a bit of an idea going, hey, look, off the top of my head, this may be like 100k for your site works because of X, Y, Z, and they just go, shit, really? Yeah, this is why. Do you know what I mean?
That specifically one, you know, remember Paddy, so I actually know the client. He's not proceeded yet, I don't think. I think it's just a little bit over budget, but unfortunately he's already purchased that block, so maybe he was misguided prior to buying the land. But he was talking about, can I go in and dig it out myself with excavators? You can, 100% you can. You still got to retain the fucker, so when you build the house, the land doesn't fucking landslide and crush your house. So,
and that has to be done engineered, and it has to be signed off by builders and engineers and all that kind of stuff.
That's not cheap. So retaining is a big cost, I think. And we're talking about significant, 20 degree radiant blocks here. So not you're just, a little retaining here and there. I mean, significant. So retaining is one thing that you got to look out for if you're going to go one of those obscure blocks.
Yeah, so we could spend honestly about an hour on obscure blocks and all the stuff you need to do, but our advice to you is literally come and see us and we'll walk you through it, because there's so many different variables to your obscure blocks and very options that you could do, budget, price, what you want. But so what we're trying to get through is find a location and get someone to help you. If it's not a nice flat block in one of your Sienna Woods estates or something like that, which is nice and easy, they're no bother at all. But those ones that you go, geez, it's in the right location, Tony, Chris, it needs to be here. Right, okay. Look, we have to work our magic to get this done, and we'll do it for you. We'll work our best.
100%.
But just go and get some advice on it, because otherwise, don't buy the land without getting someone to look at it first.
An expert. I was going to say, I think a lot of these, when you go into these new estates, there's always these funny shaped corner blocks at the end of cul-de-sacs that are always available, and they're always bigger, but there's like an obscure driveway, and there might be 3 or 4 different angles in there, not just 90 degrees. I think they're good buys. You just need a custom design house put on it, which is fine if you go to someone independent. Big builders obviously just have their set designs and they don't work on those blocks. But I think there's good buys to be had in those obscure shaped blocks, depending on what you want. If you want no maintenance, if you want a garden space, if you want a driveway, you want a basketball court. I think there's fucking money to be made in there.
Absolutely.
I think they're good.
I want to touch on those kind of blocks as well. The ones, let's talk about the ones, we call them green tile, but the ones that are in the estates that are built, right, they're all ready to go. They're really good. There's a few things, myths that I want to debunk. Like, it's a 450 blocks, one of the biggest ones, nice and square, right? And people say, yeah, they're not as like the old
rectangle.
days. Yeah, rectangle. Thing is, though, do you know how much further forward the house has been brought now? You look at all those houses in Cardiff and all that, right? They're like 8 metre frontages.
Yeah, 12.
And wasted space. So it's almost like the same. So they bring it so far forward, roughly about 4.5 metres is usually kind of the minimum. 4.5. And you still got that space. But then people are going, yeah, but then they're throwing 260 metres square houses on these big massive monsters, then wonder why they don't have a fucking garden. But then they want a theatre and a 6 bedroom and a scullery. Hey, welcome to the world. This is what it's all about, right?
It brings me to, I guess, the next thing. So you've got retaining to look out for. You've got your site works cost or your head works, what the builder charges you. And then the next thing is the R code, right? So the R code, every block of land in Australia has an R code value associated to it. And what that means is, back in the day, a lot of the R codes were called R20s. And that means it was a 12 metre setback, which is, like you said, Cardinia, Bull Creek, places like that, really established areas. If you ever drove down the street and realised they've got big, massive front gardens, huge front gardens, doing what? Nothing. So all the developers have done now is change those R20 blocks, which meant you had to have a 12 metre setback or a 6 metre or a 10 or an 8, whatever. They've changed them to R30. So yes, granted, the block of land is smaller, but you actually pull the house way far forward and it's only a 4.5 metre setback. So you've actually just gave yourself an extra 100 square metres, let's say, on average, just by changing how forward you've pulled the house. So the driveways can only fit 1 or 2 cars, where before you could fit fucking 6 of them in there, you know what I mean? But now all of a sudden you've got more of a garden space. What they've made in return is they made the blocks a little bit skinnier. And statistically speaking, they're 30 metres deep nowadays, normally. But R codes are very important, and it is important. It's something that you have to recognise that they've been put there by the government or the land developer to keep a consistency with the build. So you can't just have no garden. You can't just, take up every square inch of that fucking block by house. You have to have a certain amount of garden space. You have to have a certain setback. They want it aesthetically pleasing from the eye, from the front. You can't just paint a fucking red door, stuff like this. So, well, that's more design guidelines, but yeah, R codes are important. There's minimum setbacks. So like, if you ever noticed, some houses touch each other. So they're called RMD blocks, where literally your garage is touching the master bedroom, and some people don't like that, but it's fucking good for security. No one can break into your house around the back and stuff like that. So the R code is very important, and if you don't know what it is, I suggest you do a little bit more research, because it allows what you can do with the house.
And this is for brand new estates, right? We know people are going to jump on and say, well, the density codes, we're not talking about what it means in Cardiff. We're talking about in these new estates, because the land developers work with the local government so they can get what they want, but they also have to make sure that they put in the services, so there's enough shops, enough schools and all that stuff. Look at Baldivis, right? It's got about 4 schools and stuff. When we talk about R codes and densities going out into the existing suburbs, you'll see all these big blocks and they'll be R20s. Then they'll start subdividing them, and that's when the R codes change. But the government will only allow that to happen if they've got the services to support the growth. And you drive around any suburb right now and they're all starting to get subdivided up, all these big blocks, and then you'll see 2 stories. But just so, because I know people are going to jump on and go, that's not fucking right. He is right. He's bang on right, but we're talking about brand new estates.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to make that clear, because so you start fucking commenting and hammer them.
All right,
I've
Karen.
already knocked in.
Fuck off, Karen.
Who's your haircut? I want to speak to the manager. I go on then. See you later.
Do you know a Karen franchise is $150,000?
Is that the one where they go in and just abuse you?
Yeah.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
I think it is, bro. I've never been, but I want to go.
Imagine getting drunk, you just start fighting. Anyway, land.
All right, what we got? BAO, bushfire attack level. This is a relatively new thing that came in. Another thing to consider when selecting your block of land. And again, your builder broker or your building consultant should explain all this to you. They don't always, but they should explain it all. So bushfire attack level is quite a good one. Basically, if there's a lot of shrub or bushland close to your house, and it kind of works in a radius. So if you look at a bird's eye view of your block of land and draw a circle around it, within 50 meters, it's bushfire attack level X. So it goes in different levels. Starts at 12.5, then it goes up to 19, then 29. And then what's the next one? 40
fire
something,
zone.
and there's flame zone. Like there's quite a lot of different levels towards your bushfire attack level. And what that means is if you're building a house in a bushfire attack level of 19, let's say, you've got a list of these requirements that you have to add on top of your house, not the land, on top of the house to make it comply. That costs money. Mm-hmm. So little things like, you need certain vents on your air conditioning. You need aluminium mesh on your fly screens as opposed to the paper stuff. You need door seals and stuff like that. Yada yada yada. So another thing. So on that bit of paper, when you're signing your offer and acceptance, or you're looking at this block of land, if it says BOW 12.5, BOW 19, whatever, it comes with an associated cost. Now that cost is not accurate until we know which house we're designing. So if it's a bigger house, it's going to cost more. Blah blah blah. It goes up and down. So very important to look to see if the associated block that you want has a BOW attached. Yeah. I love blocks that back onto bushland. I think it's cool. You've got a park and you've got overlooking bushland. Hammond Park's got a beautiful little estate down the back there where Courtney's sister's building. She looks onto this, I think it's Belia Nature Reserve, but it's not going to be touched. It's never going to be chopped down for houses. I think it looks amazing. The negative is there's a BOW attached to it. The closer you are to bushland, the more the house is going to cost, unfortunately. So,
but your broker should know that. The land agent will tell them, but it's the land agent is the responsibility to tell you. But it's a broker.
Only if you ask.
Yeah. Your builder should know this, right? Or your broker, and make sure it's added into your quote and it's there, and there's an allowance for it. It'll be a provisional sum again, depending on how big you build the house and stuff. But
as long as it's explained, as long as you explain it to the client understands.
And that's the same process as noise attenuation and things like that as
coastal.
Well. Coastal. If you live near the coast, you've got to beef up the house with
galvanized nails
and stuff,
aluminium fascias and colour bond and blah blah blah.
It's just to protect you from the salt water. Right? That's basically what it is. Otherwise your house will rot. Your noise attenuation, if you live close to a highway or major road, you might have to put double glazing in or put extra soundproofing in. These are all government run sort of processes they have to go on so that you're protected.
Well, your house is comfortable.
That's it. Yeah,
your house is comfortable.
Imagine listening to the road just going like constant.
I've got a good one. So Leach Highway, we built a house, 175A Leach Highway. My mate Alec built a house, beautiful house, and it actually slipped right through all the way until we got to building permit, and then they said, "Oh, we need an acoustic report." It costs $1,000 just for a report for an acoustic engineer to come to site, and he basically stands with a meter at the 4 points of the house and decibels, counts the decibels between Leach Highway from the house, and I think we ended up getting away with like a $400 cost, and we had to upgrade one window in the front corner of the house closest to Leach Highway and thicken the glass by whatever it was, I can't remember exactly, 8.2 as opposed to 6.4. So yeah, it's weird, but it's something to consider. Some people, backing onto Stock Road and Coogee there, and Munster or whatever, like that definitely. So it's Emma and Colin round the corner on Yanjibup. They backed, they were quite a bit away from Spearwood Ave, the corner of Spearwood Ave and Belia, but again, they had the noise attenuation package added onto theirs, and they can be quite dear. So when you look at a new block of land and it says noise package A or B, it can be up to 20 grand.
Well, Cardinia Rise, that one we were going, and then we were all there, and then we got the noise thing, and it was $42,000 because we're right on North Lake Road.
That was from Modco, wasn't it? So Modco's a steel frame builder. Steel's not the best with noise and vibration and stuff like that, unlike timber, which is the best in the world, or double brick. So yeah, different builders. That 42 grand or whatever it was different when we got a quote from another builder. Yeah. So the noise packages are different, and that again depends on the build and depends on the build method. Double brick, steel, timber, whatever. Fucking yeah. So there's so many variables. Again,
we harp on about going and seeing someone that knows their stuff. I think you can tell from us, episode 3, rocking in here. We know what we're fucking talking about, right? We've got an actual builder here telling us this shit, so it's fucking, you got to
only learn by your mistakes. Like I've been tripped up in the past, you know what I mean? Like even that Leach Highway one, we got away with only a $400 charge to the client, but I put my hand up. That was my mistake.
Early on, I missed the Ballon one as well. Do you know what I mean? And you got to wear it, right? You got to just get on.
You don't make that mistake again.
Never again. So that really covers off, I suppose, what we call green title blocks. In your estates. That's kind of the real things you got to look for. Otherwise, it's the services not are all pretty much supplied, running. Just double check that they are, but 90% they're running. And any good land agent or big like Satterley or what's the other one? Pete and that. They'll give you. They should. Also. They should give you a front landscaping package and a rear fence and rear fence and side fence landscaping. I'm going to use my big words. Yeah, right. And that gets all done at the end of it. Just as a note, when you're about 6 weeks away from getting your keys, get onto that because then it'll be done. Anyway, that's a side note. Just saying. But let's talk about.
I just want to give a shout out to Lee from Parcel Property. By the way, she's the best in the whole world.
No, she is the greatest person ever. And takes us for lunch, and it's fantastic, isn't it?
She's actually the best land agent I've dealt with, and Dale Miles as well from Terra Novus.
So good.
He's actually the best in the whole world. If you want to buy land, go speak to those two.
The nicest people in the world ever.
Don't lie to you. Tell the truth. Tell you all the bad shit up front, and
they've been doing it for fucking years, and they're still dominating the industry. That tells you something, right?
They're the best.
Brilliant.
Titled or non-titled blocks. Explain what that is, because a lot of people do get tripped up with this when, again, your dodgy sales consultant with fucking veneers doesn't tell you the truth about a non-titled block. So what's the difference?
So titled and non-titled. Titled means essentially the basic one. It's ready to build on.
Yep.
The roads are done, the services are in, you've got your green dome, everything's ready to go, they can literally just go and pour the slab. Mm-hmm. Non-titled means the services and all that stuff, and it can be, depending on the stage, they'll release a plan and say non-titled, and you'll pick your block from is the paper that you can see. You can't even get onto the site.
That's right.
Don't worry, we can help you get on, but shh, don't tell anyone.
Ken and Katie.
We just get on there. That's how we do it.
They were mortified when we took the temporary fencing down.
Remember? Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I
don't know what you're talking about.
But and then, so if it's not titled, you got to find out when it's been titled and ask if they're running behind and stuff like that. Because what happens, remember, you sign on that land and then you start building a house and it's 6 months away. There could be a price increase.
Fucking right, man.
Do you know what I mean?
Can't get out the contract as well. Like, it's crap.
You're stuck. So titled land. So there's trips and ticks to get around all that stuff. I can't fucking speak today.
Don't know what's wrong with you.
I don't know. I'm just going to stop.
I'll take over.
This is building Perth with Chris only. I'm just going to be here and smile.
I think on the Untitled, there is a lot of people that's been stung in the past buying an Untitled block, and it's took longer than it was anticipated. Right. This is where it comes down to your builder, broker, or your consultant having a good relationship with the land agent. Right. So, for instance, we just gave Lee and Dale a shout out. I wouldn't be giving Lee a shout out if she sold me in the past an untitled block that didn't title when she told me. Put it that way.
Updated.
You know what I mean? It's simple as that. Where there's a lot of land developers that hire and fire land agents, and they'll say, yeah, don't worry about it. It'll be September. It'll be 100%. It's nearly there. That's my favorite. It's nearly there. Like, everything's there. It's nearly there, and then it's literally September the following year. You've lied to your client, not knowingly, saying, it'll be titled by September, and it actually takes a further year. It's another fucking further year of rent increase, blah, blah, blah. All the shit that comes with it, price increases because the builder can and deserves to charge you more. So I think that comes back to, your consultant having a really good relationship with the land developer. And it's so important because, there's so many variables in land, so many. So I'm not saying don't buy untitled blocks, just have to be very, very, very confident with who you're buying from. Yeah, I think that's the biggest tip. Because there's deals to be made. Put it this way. You buy an untitled block, a 450 square, I don't know, I'm just going to make numbers up. 450 square metre untitled block in Yanchep right now might be $170,000. When it becomes titled, it'll be $190,000. Give or take, you know what I mean? I'm just, obviously, these numbers are fabrications, but that's how it works. Because when that stage gets fully sold, supply and demand. Fuck, that sold in 3 months. So they release the next stage and they bump it up an extra 15 grand because it sold so quickly. Yep. And then they find that happy medium where they're going to sell them quick enough to make the money back. So you can definitely you make more money buying untitled blocks, but it all depends on that speed.
You got to be smart about the builder and trusted land agent that when it's going to be tiled, right?
Correct.
I mean, we've spoke about land sizes and block size. I don't think we need to go through that again. It's 10, 10.5, 12.5, 15 metres. They are what they are. Just make sure you know what you want and have an idea of what you want in a house, but then go and find the land.
That's right.
Don't buy the house and try and fit land on it.
100%.
It fucking doesn't work. Don't listen to them in in the fucking showrooms. Don't listen to them. They're lying to you. They're not telling you the truth. Not all of them, but some of them are lying to you.
Just 99%.
Right. Let's go on the thing that fucking scares everyone. Battle axe.
I love them, man.
Subdivide blocks.
I love them.
All that cool stuff.
I
They're
love
good
them.
fun.
Yeah, I love them. Niche market. Most of these donkeys that you speak to don't have a clue. That's where I think it's a really niche market. It's really good for FIFO people that just want to lock up and leave, single people, elderly people that want security. A battle axe block is a house behind a house, or a house of 3 or 4 collectively. You can have group dwellings, you can have survey strata blocks, you can have single dwellings that are on its own title. I think they're brilliant. I really do. You're paying $100,000 less to be closer to wherever you want to be. So we're building a lot in Hammy Hill and Spearwood and stuff like that. Yeah. You're 5 minutes from fucking Fremantle. That one on Leach Highway, that was a battle axe blocks. It's 7 minutes to Fremantle. Fremantle is brilliant. If you go and buy in Fremantle or Beaconsfield, it's $900,000. Yeah. We're building these fuckers for $550. Yeah. You know, $350, $400K less than an established house. Granted, it's a smaller block of land, but if you don't want a garden, you want to be near the CBD or Fremantle or Subiaco or Leaderville, or there's battle axe blocks everywhere, but I think they're an absolute steal. I love them. Really good investment. Yeah, really good investment. If you find a lot of things to do with them that scare people. Uneducated sales consultants will not have a clue about gas and main and runs in and power domes and the services and the driveway and the compaction and all sorts of stuff that comes with battle axe retaining. You need to get forms signed by the neighbours and blah blah. There's a bit extra paperwork with them. Is it titled yet? Is it not? Is it went through WAPC? There's lots of things that you have to consider, but I think they're an absolute bargain. Yeah. If you're not overly fussed about having hundreds of garden space, I think they're great. Good for investments for FIFO people or Airbnbs. Yep, they're great. And yeah, you can really save a lot of money because the stereotypical person wants that street front house. Is from my experience, most people want to have the nice looking house from the front, or the driveway or the garage at the front, where these little hidden gems still fucking pay you the same money, and they still have the same amount of rooms and whatever else. I think they're brilliant battle axe blocks.
I mean, we've there's lots to unpack on it, right? So let's go with a couple of the main things that you really need to look at. So you've been on realestate.com, you saw this block of land you like, you've been to look at it, it's sort of flat, you've had your site works, right? What kind of things you need to start looking at now? What things I need to take into consideration outside of going to a green title block? Like, what are the main 3 things, Chris, that you would ask them to look at if you had them?
On a battle axe block?
Yeah, your
services is number 1. So are the services, your water, your gas, your electricity, is that ran to the site already? Is there any further retaining and fencing required? So when we do construction, are we going to oppose the neighbour's fence? Are we going to need to rip that out, put a new fence in? There's a cost there. Yep. The design of the house, there's got to be a 3-point turning circle in battle axe blocks. So you can't pick a showroom display home, a display home floor plan and chuck it in a battle axe block. So you got to understand before you even look at the block of land, this is the type of block or this is the type of house that it's going to be.
Is that exactly right? Go in there, look at the land and find out, is it titled? That's the first thing you need to know. Yeah. And where is it in the process of being, if it's been subdivided, where is it at? Because if you buy at a certain stage, you then take on that liability.
That's right. Services are the big one. That's going to cost you 6 to 15 grand. You know what I mean? And with that, we're going through this with another client of ours. So if it's a battle axe or a subdivided block, is it the middle one? Or is there 3 in a row? Is there 2? Or is it just one house behind a house? Because if there's 3 behind a house or 2 behind a house and you're the middle one, well, the services ran to the back one, because that means when you build your house quicker than the guy at the back, let's say, you can't get the driveway done yet because they're going to have to rip it up to get his services done. So there's lots of things to consider, but I still think they're a good investment.
If you know what you're doing, you know how to navigate them, best what we do, then that's what to do. Like, I've got a client in Rivervale who's got a house, he wants to knock it down, subdivide and build 2.
Is it Corey?
No, John. Like, it's a great, and he's just like
Rivervale,
basically turns and goes, I don't even know what to do, and then comes to us to help him. We know
Jack and Jenna's in Rivervale as well.
Yeah, we've got the companies, we've got the guys that can subdivide it, we've got the companies that they trust it. So, it's not cheap, but when you sit down with us, we'll tell you what it's going to cost you to get there. Run down your feasibility numbers, and if it makes sense, and we do investors all the time.
Of course, of course.
I'll buy that block, subdivide it to them, right? Because this is what we're going to do.
Investor turns around and goes, "Why is it only 580,000 for 7Ks from the CBD?" Right, okay.
just throwing money at us.
Yeah.
Through the Zoom call and all that.
What was I going to say there? Builders. So with battle axe blocks, some builders won't touch it.
Yeah.
Very important. So you may have built with Home Buyers Centre. You might have built your first house with Home Buyers Centre in the past. Home Buyers Centre are a really good entry level builder. Love them. Perfect. Really good. Good product, good quality, good speed, good communication, good pre-start selections. Don't do battle axe. But you might have had such a great experience with them at the start. You're now building an investment property because you made equity in your first home, and you want to use home buyers. You can't. They don't want to touch it. Alternatively, if you use celebration homes, they're just going to whack a big fucking provisional sum in there because it's not their niche market. So there are certain builders that niche into battle axe blocks and have experience, and the other builders that don't, they'll just overcharge you. So be selective. If you want to go down a battle axe route, you have to be selective on the builder. Show me experience that you've built battle axes before, you know.
And these are the questions we ask the builders when we go to partner with them and work with them: is, do you do this? And they go, no, we don't. Okay,
that's excellent.
We'll go. We know where you're at, and that's calm. And then, do you like it or we don't like? You know, there's builders here that claim they're residential builders, not very good, but they're great at country builds, like superb at it. Like that's so you got to
niche.
Yeah, you got to work that out.
Yeah,
it's definitely the way you got to do it with the builders.
Planning.
This is your forte, mate.
It's not very fun. So basically, when we come back to those R codes, right? So the R codes are made by the landowner to have a certain style of house and visual representation of the suburb. And now you can push the boundaries. You can change it. You can make that house bigger. You can make that house bigger. You can push the boundaries on those R codes. Sorry, that was my watch just going off. But you have to go through planning. So what that means is you go to the council and you're basically putting a proposal to them that I want to build this triple story house here, even though the rest are double story house, even though the rest are singles, and this is why. Now that takes 90 days, 3 months, and they use every single bit of those 3 months. So basically when you're pushing the boundaries or changing things, maybe you're going dual key living, maybe you want 2 or 3 kitchens, maybe it's going to be an Airbnb, maybe it's going to be a HMO, like an odd sort of 6-bedroom house where in the street of 4x2s, you're then going to have a 6x2, a 6x6 house that rents backpackers out. Like, it's unusual. You have to go through planning in order to get it approved. So the builder takes care of that for you, but there is a process and it does take 90 days minimum. After 90 days, the council will come back to you and say yes or no, pretty much. Or they'll say yes on the condition A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H, I, J, K are completed. So again, bit of a specialist field. Not all builders deal with it. But this planning is something that's got to be
and why that's super important, especially when you're going for finance. And if you've listened to episode 2, you'll understand finance a bit better.
And if you've not listened to it,
stop right now again.
Episode 1 again,
and go to episode 1. Yeah, do that. With it, the finances. If you go and buy like blocks of land that are from a real estate, you're not going to get very long to close on it. Like maybe 10 days and 21 days settlement, right? Whereas if you're buying from green title blocks like Saturdays and that, they'll give you 90 days. So
sometimes more.
So you can put like a housing land package together. They're okay with that. But these other ones, the real estate, it's very hard to get.
They give you 3 minutes.
Yeah, and you end up with like 16 different mortgages.
Yeah.
And again, that's why you listen to episode 2, because you find a really good mortgage broker. Anyway, we digress. It's just absolutely gold nuggets information we're giving you here. Like, honestly, I hope you're all sitting down with this information we're giving you, because it's absolutely out of this world. How you building Perth?
Yeah, exactly right. Like, subscribe.
That's it. No, but look, there's a lot. Honestly, we could sit here for another 2 hours.
So much in land. One thing that I did miss, and I didn't even think about until now, is soil classification.
Yeah.
Okay, so in WA we've got like a sandy soil. Over in Melbourne and stuff, it's a bit more muddy and stuff like that. There's more clay in the soil here. It's more reactive. So there's no secret in WA is the only state in the whole of the fucking universe that builds these double brick houses, and it's soil related. There is other ways to build, by the way: timber, steel, brick veneer, blah blah blah. Explore that and don't be scared of it, right? It makes no fucking difference to your valuation of the property. Anyway, that's another topic altogether. I'm very strongly passionate about double brick.
Going there.
Not being building double brick. But soil classification. So what that means is what type of soil is it? Like 1.8 meters down from the surface level. What's happening down there? Is it reactive? Is it moving? Different soil classifications will require different thickness of concrete, different thickness of footings and stuff like that, depending on the build method. So that alone, a Class A soil, which basically most of them are advertised in new construction, but you may find this Battleaxe block in Beaconsfield. Beaconsfield is riddled with limestone. So it might be a Class C. Your site works might change from 12 grand up to 28 or 32 grand, depending on the soil classification. So how do you know that before? You don't, actually. So the builder will give you a provisional sum based on experience that's going to be limestone in Beaconsfield, but it might be sandy. We don't know until we do a test. Yeah. You can engage an independent person to go out and do a soil report, or you can engage us or the builder to do it. Costs about $450, $650, roughly $600, but it could save you 10 grand. Yep. You could pay $600, so you could get that information from the person selling that property before you make an offer. It could be a subject that you need to know, because that's gonna save you 10, 20 grand.
Again, yeah, absolutely. And as on that point about getting the information from the seller, when you're dealing with a real estate agent, ask him for every single fucking bit of information he has on it. Yeah. He probably doesn't know what half of it means.
He doesn't.
But when you get to the builder, we actually need that shit. We need to know
100%.
Lot sizes,
everything. I think that's a good point, and that's why I'm shouting Dale and Lee out. So Dale and Lee are land agents, so they sell parcels of land to builders or builder reps or clients. They sell land. Normally when you buy a Battleaxe block, you're dealing with the same bloke that sells houses. It's a different beast, right? It's petrol and diesel engine. It's totally different. So these real estate agents are really important that they're selling a block of land, although their specialty is houses. They don't fucking know. You ask them for all this information, they don't have a clue. They just think it's a case of people come and do a home open and buy the block of land. It's not the case. So when you're going for a Battleaxe blocks, it's really important that the real estate agent might not know what he's doing, but you have someone on your team that asks all the questions that you need.
A feature survey, lot plans, angle plan, all that stuff.
He won't know what that means. Well, Lee and Dale and all the other land agents, of course, you get that straight away.
But then he might have a previous O&A or something, you get it, and it's usually attached to the back of that. You know, that stuff that you don't want to read at the back of your O&A, which is your offer and acceptance. It's usually there. Again, experienced people, get them to help you, and they'll find this stuff out for you. And if it's not available, then we have to pay for it. And we'll give you that information up front. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Because like Chris was saying there, land agents and guys that sell houses, they're two different things. And there's a lot, and we're talking about here, we link them that both of them don't really take ownership of.
Diesel and
And you got to be understanding. This is a shit like that. 10 grand here and 12 grand here and 5 grand there. There's 20 odd grand without that someone should have told you about. That's the stuff that we pick up on to make sure, hey, hold on, I know your budget's this, but we've got 25 grand of that stuff to deal with.
100%. Last thing I want to touch on is trees. Don't buy anywhere with trees, please. The government's becoming more and more difficult regarding trees. Like, you can't just buy a block of land, and they make it very hard to chop down trees. So we do I've got an arm in CC West that just does granny flats, and the granny flats are great Airbnbs and rent return. If you've got a big block of land anywhere, basically, and the R code allows a granny flat, I highly recommend putting a granny flat on there, especially if it's an investment property. But trees are hard, so we actually have to change our construction our method of construction from a concrete slab to like a raised subfloor frame granny flat, so we don't fucking cut trees down. Governments will not let you cut trees down. It's fucking it's so bad. You have to put on your plans now a 2x2 meter exclusion zone that shows that you're going to plant a tree once you get your keys. Whether you do or not is different, but you have to actually show that on your plan. It's fucking mental. So stay away from trees.
Don't do trees.
Don't do trees.
Go to the park.
Go to the park.
Go to the park and look at trees. Or go for a walk.
Go to the park if you can. Yeah.
And that's the big thing that's happening. You know, that you see that European influx coming in. People are buying smaller blocks of land and going up higher, and they don't want a garden. They just want a smaller fresco area. Because look at, if you think, how close are you to a park or a nature reserve or a fucking beach?
Less than 5 minutes.
Do you know what I mean? Everywhere you go, right? Most times, unless you're up in the hills or some shit, and then you've got other walks, right? So anyway, look, thank you again for listening. I think that wraps up land. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and blabber.
Oh, there's so much more.
So much more. Yeah. But if you're unsure, always come and see us. You know.
Any questions regarding land, please comment below.
Or go to the House and Land Expert. I don't know where it is. It's up here somewhere.
Over there.
Yeah, the House and Land Expert, and give us a shout. And me and Chris will be happy to help you and give you the right advice. But yeah,
like, comment, subscribe,
share, give us abuse, whatever it is on all our channels. We'd love to hear from you.
Please subscribe.
And over the next couple of weeks, probably we're going to try and get a guest on in the next 5 or 6 episodes.
Give us a few weeks.
We'll get someone in here.
Any recommendations?
Tell us what you want to hear.
Any recommendations? Do you want a builder? Do you want a tradie? Do you want a finance person? Do you want a land agent?
It has to be someone in the industry. We can't get strippers and stuff on here. That's not what we're doing.
What about Lee? Lee from Parcel.
Lee from Parcel. I think we should. Everyone just message Lee and Dale, and they have to be on here because
Lee from Parcel Property. Google her, DM her.
She's the best. She's on Facebook as Lee from Parcel Property. She's the bestest ever. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
How much is she paying you to say that?
$500 for a hat.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you. Bye.
Okay, bye.